We're living in an age of tremendous potentiality. The potential for good has never been greater. For discoveries to improve our lives and the lives of people around the planet has never been greater. Sadly, so too is the potential harm and devastation. We're living in a time of historic rise in attacks on Jews, on Jewish institutions, on Judaism itself, in the West and in America and wherever Jewish communities have found. The Holocaust unveiled with unremitting ferocity the violent hatred which so many of us thought was a thing of the past. Surely, we thought in the 1930s, surely the world has moved on. It has matured beyond blaming Jews and Judaism for whatever is most repugnant in the world or whatever they find most hateful. We were wrong. We say the Holocaust if it's one thing, but the Holocaust, it's over a decade. The Holocaust happened. There's perpetrators and collaborators on 6 continents, touching every nation state. Men and women, people of every ethnic group and every nationality committed atrocious acts against their Jewish population. The Holocaust reminds us that we can't simply take a Manichaean approach to the world where some group of people are inherently good and some are inherently evil. And our job is simply to separate them out and defeat the evil ones. Rather, the wisdom of the Holocaust, if we can say that, the lesson of the Holocaust, is the lesson that Alexander Solzhenitsyn learned at a different time. And it's so apt for us today. Solzhenitsyn writes, "Gradually it was disclosed to me that the line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart and through all human hearts." This is one of the key lessons of the Holocaust, in response to which we in the Jewish world say, never again, never again, never again. Yet there are 2 diametrically opposite ways of reading this phrase. On the one hand, never again can mean, never again may we, ought we, can we allow such a horror to be perpetrated against any other people, against any group on the planet. And on the other hand, never again. Never again will we allow ourselves to be murdered in mass. Never again will we refuse to stand up for ourselves. These 2 never agains, both are correct. We must hold the wisdom of both of these insights of never again. In the rabbinic tradition, we teach that every human being is created with 2 yetzers, Yetzer hara and Yetzer hatov, the inclination to do evil and the inclination to do good. Every one of us. The Holocaust requires us on an individual level to work through what Jung calls our shadow self, what our tradition calls the Yetzer hara. We have to work through our own propensity for evil, at the same time that we put into place the mechanisms that create a never again and a never again, that create and empower us to make sure that the Jewish people will never again be murdered in mass. And on the other hand, to make sure that never again will any people be this subject to be the object of a genocide. This work is so critical right now in the Jewish communities across the world, and certainly on our college campuses and here at Oregon Hillel. It's imperative for our Jewish students, for their own sake. We know from recent surveys that 65% of Jewish students on North American campuses have felt the need to hide their Judaism. They have to hide the fact they're being Jewish, of their identity, in an age when we're elevating so many identities. We're leaving behind our Jewish students. The Holocaust reminds us that it's important that all identities and all people and all loves are cherished. So this is something that has to be addressed on our campuses and something we're addressing at Oregon Hillel. Finally, I'll leave you with the last thought, something that's so critical for our students today, for all of us today. Our students will be the last generation to hear from, to speak with, to learn from survivors in the first person. By the time their children come around, God forbid, there won't be survivors in the first person to be able to hear from, to listen to ask questions of, to see their faces, and to hear their stories. This is why Holocaust Memorial is so important this year, is so important on our campuses, and why Holocaust education is at the heart of fighting anti-Semitism, which, once again, is all too real a part of our American Jewish and our global Jewish reality.